How's the group settled down after the venues, and are you sort of getting on with it now and found a right approach to that?
Yeah, we have. I mentioned last week that we were able to brief the players on the information that we knew, and I thought they dealt with it really well. We turned up on Saturday and did what we needed to do. We didn't quite get the win, but they were obviously, there was a range of emotions, but we felt like we handled it with sensitivity, mate. So that was well handled by the club.
Okay. Now you've got some other injured players. Tarryn and Cam. Where are we at with them?
Yeah, they're both available. Tarryn just has to get through training today. He's had that stage progression through the 12-day protocol with a concussion. So Cam's expected to be available and back in the team, mate. So we'll get him through training today. So both of those guys, they'll be back in the 22 this week.
How are you approaching the finish to the season, and what do you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, well, we're approaching it really strongly. We want to continue momentum. We want to continue to learn, experience to play the Tigers that are still vying for a final position. The manner in which they play the game and what they've been able to achieve in the last 4 or 5 years now has been fantastic for us to be able to gain that experience at the G against Richmond. Going forward is invaluable. So yeah, we're really excited about trying to finish strongly in the last 3 games.
What about Core and Powell? How's their progress going and for the final 3 weeks?
Yeah, they're done for the year. So we've made a decision. We'll continue to try to keep those guys, just bowling over heading into sort of pre-season, but neither of those two will be available for the remaining part of the year.
Okay, that's disappointing.
It is. Yeah, look, it's always disappointing when you don't have, players available, but our medicos have worked hard to try to get them to a position, even for a VFL game at the back end of, round 23, but it's just not viable at this point in time. So, low risk, mate, at this point. Make sure they're ready to go for pre-season.
Any debutants likely to get a go?
Is there anyone that you want to specifically refer to?
My spies tell me Charlie Condon's place.
I don't think so. Not this week. Look, the one that we really liked that we think will probably stay on the side is Eddie Ford. Like we really liked his game last week. We were pretty sure we were able to maintain him in that team to have a look at it. So, but no, Charlie won't be making his debut this week. Look, his form's been terrific. And look, there's a bunch of guys down there as well. I think Paddy Walker's been really, really good in the last month. Phoenix Spices. So we've got 3, or 4 down there, mate. I think that are really continuing to put some pressure on.
And longer term, this time of year, some players on the fringe can start to get nervous. I mean, will you be significantly turning over the list, do you think, at the end of the year?
Not sure at this stage. I mean, the rules demand that we have to make change anyway. So what that looks like at the moment, we're obviously having some internal discussions as to what that looks like, but we haven't settled on anything. We haven't settled on how many picks we want in the draft per se. We're just really pushing really hard to continue what we've started at the beginning of the year, and it's now started to come a little bit more to fruition in the back half. So we're pushing hard to just see what we can finish with at the end of the year.
Nobes, I know you were in Tassie when the VFL game was on, but Jacob Edwards got his first hit out at the level. Have you had a chance to look back at the footage of his game, and what have you made of it? Yeah,
we did, Alex. He was able to play the week before as well. We had a bit of a scratchy between the Hawks and Carlton. So, yeah, no, we really like the look of him and Charlie Comben up forward. The 2 tools up there, with Nick in Larky in good form at the moment. Our tall stocks look like they're in pretty good position. So he's got a long way to go. The difficulty we've had with him, Alex, is with the school and the protocols with COVID. We haven't been able to have him in regularly, but the times that we have been able to get him in for training, really diligent, excited with his capacity to continue to learn, improve, and yeah, he's a really driven, determined young man that wants to make his mark in the next few years with us.
Yeah, you talk about the sort of scratchy games, and obviously it's something that every club has had to deal with throughout the better course the last few weeks. What do you see as the difference between playing those sort of scratch matches and having a full VFL game?
Well, I actually don't think there's been much difference, to be honest, because you've got basically AFL listed players playing in those games, and everyone's been able to work really well together to, if we needed an extra ruck or someone else, Carlton needed an extra ruck at the Hawks, we've worked really well together. The standards of those games, mate, have been really high. There's probably been not as much defence at different times. It's been a little bit offensive, but to be able to have a really high calibre game in those scratch matches has actually been really valuable particularly for us, with some injuries early, and for players to gain some form in those games, mate, to then put the pressure on. So Eddie Ford had a really good game in that scratch match. Kicked a couple of goals, played a bit of midfield time, and was able to put his name, up in match committee. So that's what it allows. Certainly, it's allowed us to do.
Yeah, and we talk about your tools as well, and obviously there's a guy who's been in incredible form the past few weeks in Nick Larkey. What have you seen the difference between him at the start of the year and to now? What sort of allowed him to play to his potential? Look,
he's continued to work really hard at his craft. I think one of the things I've mentioned before, I think our ball movements helped him a bit too, mate. I think, we've got a bit more consistent with how we've been able to deliver the ball for him. He's just continued to try to do his homework on his opposition most weeks. Heath Uni's been terrific for him in leading patterns and understanding, his skill set that he can sort of pitch against the opposition. So we've loved the fact of how he goes about his work. We actually think some of his defensive pressure, as a forward, which is pretty crucial nowadays, mate, has been a real fundamental part of his game.
Yeah, he would have perhaps been doing plenty of homework this week to prepare for the likes of Dylan Grimes and Dave Asprey.
Yeah, no more than I think, playing the team that sits second on the ladder last week as well, with a couple of tough defenders. So, but no, yeah, he needs to go to work with some high quality defenders this week. There's no doubt about that. Those two guys in particular are really hard to score goals on, and to compete in one-on-one contests. So, yeah, he'll need to have his best form there for this week.